What I've started to notice over the last week and a half since the mass shootings have become, I guess you can say, popular, because that's basically what they're trying to thrust them into as far as a category. They're trying to make this become a popular thing more so as a trend, because I've seen so many stories that have come out where you had a lot of these individuals try to be copycats of what people were doing, whether they were threatening to do something and never did it and they tried to do it as a prank, or threatening to actually do something for real. Now, that's the case with a lot of stories, but I said, you know what? I tried to bypass them, but they keep popping up like bad ragweed. And I said, let me just talk about this one right here. Now, this one was from overseas. This was over in Norway. And this guy, they said they didn't identify him, but according to the article and reports, they said his name is Philip Manshaus, and they said he's a 21-year-old man. I would never have pinned 21 as an age on him, but you know why that is. But they said that he was going to that he stormed a mosque armed with shotguns, and they said he was inspired by Christ Church and the El Paso attackers, according to a messaging board he was a part of. And I already know what message board it was. It was most likely that 4chan or that 8chan, because you know they got exposed to more so that 8chan. My thing is this: these people are finding inspiration rather quickly for something that just happened, but mainly because the news is constantly talking about it over and over again. It's literally got into the mainstream where now they will not stop talking about it until something more major happens. So we're going on, what is it, week 2, week 3, maybe? I've lost count of the weeks when it comes to something like this, because they're constantly happening. But it's amazing how people like him and others, whether I talked about them or not, are finding this inspiration. And it doesn't surprise me, because when it comes to palm-colored serial killers and mass shooters and people who have done like intensely savage things, they become immortalized into society to the point where they are now lumped in with pop culture. How many times have the Manson family been glamorized over the years? How many times have they talked about, say, the Menendez brothers or Columbine and such, and to the point where they get inspired by these individuals? Now you have this El Paso shooter, and now you have people like this guy who I'm gonna talk about, who is finding inspiration from someone like him, and he's all the way in Norway. That's probably why I wanted to talk about this, because this is overseas in another country on another continent. It's gotten to that point. But let me go ahead and read this article. It says the alleged gunman who launched a suspected terror attack on a mosque in Norway was inspired by the Christchurch, Poway, and El Paso shooters, online records suggest. The suspect has not been officially identified by police, but was named in reports as Philip Manshaus, a 21-year-old local man. Allegedly 21. Hours before the attack at the Al Noor Islamic Center in Bahrain in Saturday, a user of the same name posted on a Chan messaging board. And notice it says a Chan, but it didn't specify which one. Was it 4chan or 8chan? My guess is probably 8chan. Well, Cobbers, which means friends, it's my time. I was elected by Christchurch mosque attacker Saint Tarrant. After all, it said, we can't let this go on. The post appeared to call for readers to enact their online post about a race war IRL in real life, and said they had been personally elected for the task. It directed readers to a live stream on Facebook, which has been used to broadcast the Christchurch attack, but said it did not work. The Facebook page, which has been deleted, listed Oslo as Manshaus' hometown and displayed likes, including a page called No to Sex, Yes to Jesus, which is thought to be satirical. The post, which has been removed, included a link to photos that appeared to show Manshaus through his childhood and more recently. They appeared to match a photo of Philip Manshaus, who appeared age 17 in a Norwegian news article dating from 2015, which detailed a literature campaign at the Oslo by Steiner Skol School. The post was signed off with "It's been fun, Valhall Winter," or Valhalla awaits. It included a meme that described the Christchurch gunman who massacred 51 Muslims at mosque in March as a saint, and praised his statements and manifesto. It then described an American man who killed a Jewish woman at a synagogue in Poway, San Diego, as Terrence's first disciple. So see, this guy's getting inspiration from stuff that's happening over here. So literally all eyes are on the US when it comes to these mass shooters. So if they draw any inspiration, it's coming from here. But they still like to claim that we are the major threat. The same image depicted at the alleged El Paso shooter Patrick Crusius, who was accused of killing 22 victims in a terror attack targeting the Hispanic community, and praised him for reclaiming his country. All three alleged shooters made last posts on the unmoderated messaging board 8chan, where they all shared manifestos seeking to inspire further white supremacist attacks. 8chan was shut down in the wake of the El Paso shooting on August 3rd, in heavy criticism of security services for allegedly overlooking the threat posed by the website and increasingly international character of far-right terrorism. Users have flocked to other websites and encrypted messaging boards and services in its wake, but 4chan and N-chan initially remained online. What is it with them in this chan word? Can someone down in the comments below let me know what that significance is? Both sites have their own politically incorrect board, which was used by all four alleged shooters for their final post. Witnesses said the Norway gunman was tackled to the ground by a 65-year-old worshiper who had been one of the three men in the mosque. The attacker, who was reportedly wearing a uniform and body armor, broke through a glass door to reach the place of worship, where people were preparing to celebrate the Islamic festival of Eid al-Adha. I probably mispronounced that all incorrectly. Police said several gunshots were fired and are investigating the shooting as a potential terror attack. They have arrested a local white man in his 20s on suspicion of attempted murder. The same man is also accused of killing his 17-year-old stepsister, whose body was found at her home. Now, why does that sound like what happened in Dayton? Because you had a 24-year-old who killed their sister, but the only difference is it wasn't at her home. It was in the car. It was in the parking lot at a club. We're investigating this as an attempt to carry out an act of terrorism. Assistant Chief of Police Rune Skajold told a news conference on Sunday morning. We have uncovered extreme right-wing attitudes. The defendant has expressed opinions in which he praises Norwegian fascist and Nazi collaborator Quisling and is hostile towards immigration. They said he praised the great the great courage shown by two worshippers who tackled the gunman, adding, there is no doubt that their efforts prevented this from having entirely different consequences. The suspect remains in custody and is undergoing a psychiatric assessment. Well, it seems to me that they don't stray away from the script even overseas when it comes to that psychiatric assessment thing, even after they do stuff like this. But see what it is? People like this guy are drawing inspiration, quote unquote, from the debauchery that is happening over here. The more that it's becoming trendy, the more it's going to continue happening. I just did a video about a man who's copycatting. There was another one that did the same thing. And now you have this guy. It's going to continue to happen because they glamorize some of their worst people and then expect us to glamorize them as well. I'm sorry. That will never, ever, ever happen. And it should not, at least coming from us. And you know what's so crazy? They will take one of us that has not even remotely did something like this and completely run their name through the mud. But if we even dare support them or try to come to bat for them, like i.e. Bill Cosby, then we're looked at like we have three heads. But they can find inspiration from people who do stuff like this and no one really bats an eye. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you in the next one.